The crackle of the legal papers vibrated under my palm as my own son leaned across the table and said, "You're old now, just sign everything over to me." Still, I didn't blink, only slid my hand slowly along the edge of the stack, feeling the sharpness of the cut it almost drew. As the pages rustled again, that dry paper sound grew louder, like wings beating against a cage. While he grinned, confident I'd fold like worn parchment, I remembered the years I worked to keep a roof over his head. The same son who once asked me to read him bedtime stories now read my future like a foreclosure notice. That's when I opened the folder beneath my arm, the real will, already filed, already final, and leaving him nothing. We're about to begin, but if you'd like, share where you're joining from. It reminds me this story doesn't echo into silence, it lands somewhere real. Drop it in the comments and don't forget to subscribe. The silence in Aaron's new house wasn't peaceful, it was practiced. Polished counters, empty walls, not a single cushion out of place. I walked in and felt like a guest, not a mother. "Mom," he said, barely glancing up from his phone. Kara followed behind, smiling like a realtor at an open house. "Good to see you," she said, brushing a kiss somewhere near my cheek. She took my coat but didn't ask how I'd been. We sat at their glossy dining table, all sharp corners and clean lines. The food was plated, not served, salmon, something green and wilted. I picked at it politely. Midway through the meal, Aaron leaned back, swirling his wine. "It's probably time you sign things over, makes life easier." I looked at him steady. "What things?" "You know, the house, the accounts, we're just trying to be proactive." Kara nodded, her voice soft but rehearsed. "Everyone's doing it. Power of attorney, estate transfers, it's what responsible families do." I moved my fork through the mashed potatoes, slow circles. "Is this about control?" Aaron exhaled. "It's about logistics. You've got a lot to manage. This way we can take care of everything." I didn't answer right away, just looked at the walls, bare, no pictures, no trace of Lee even. Kara kept her tone light. "Of course you'll still live there, nothing changes day to day." "Except everything would." Aaron leaned forward. "We thought we'd stop by this weekend with the paperwork, just something simple to get started." I met his eyes. "So this isn't a question, it's an announcement." He flinched, but only slightly. "We're trying to help." I gave him a smile I didn't feel, I'm sure. We finished eating in silence. No second servings, no one asked if I wanted coffee. The apple pie sat untouched in the center of the table like a prop. As I stood to leave, Kara said, "Just think it over." "I always do," I said, reaching for my coat myself. Driving home, the roads felt unfamiliar, even though I knew every turn. Their words circled in my head like smoke. "Sign things over, easier now while you're still sharp." At home, I didn't turn on the lights right away, just stood in the kitchen, the soft hum of the fridge grounding me. I opened the freezer, slid in the uneaten pie, and closed the door. Then I walked to the filing cabinet in the hall, pulled out the estate personal folder and opened it. My handwriting, my tabs, everything exactly where it should be. I picked up the phone and dialed from memory. "Clay Law Office," the voice said. "This is Virginia Klein. I'd like to schedule a quiet update," I replied. The voice didn't ask why. That was the difference between people who assume and people who listen. The email came before sunrise. Subject line, "Quick docs for you." No greeting, no punctuation. Just a PDF attachment titled "Power of Attorney Klein PDF" and a short message underneath. Just a form for convenience. I stared at it for a long time before opening it. Pages of legalese, highlighted blanks, Aaron's name pre-filled in tidy fields. It wasn't a request. It was a hand reaching into my life with a clipboard. An hour later, my phone buzzed. "Kara, hey, want us to swing by this weekend? We can bring donuts. Get that signature knocked out." No warmth, no curiosity, just logistics and baked goods. I typed my reply carefully. "Not ready yet." 3 words enough. I printed the document myself, laid it on the dining table beside a yellow file folder, the same folder I'd opened the night before, my handwriting still clear on the tabs: will, property, medical, finance. Outside, the wind picked up. Leaves slapped against the windows like impatient fingers. I put on my coat and drove across town, ignoring 2 missed calls from Aaron's number. Donna Clay's office sat in a low brick building tucked between a pharmacy and a tax service. Nothing fancy, but the locks were new and her receptionist knew not to ask questions. Donna greeted me in her usual way, one brow lifted. No time for small talk. You brought the file. I handed her the folder and the pry. In TED form, she flipped through the pages with practiced fingers, barely blinking. They sent this, I said, unsigned. She stopped on the POA page, scanned it, then leaned back in her chair. And they thought you'd just fill in the blanks. I nodded once. Donna tapped the pen in her hand. You know, if you'd signed this, they'd have access to everything, banking, property, even medical calls, all without notifying you. I know, I said. Her voice lowered. You're lucky you paused. I didn't pause, I corrected her. I watched. There's a difference. She smiled at that, not kindly, more like a lawyer who appreciates precision. I leaned forward. I want them out of everything, quietly, no fireworks. Donna nodded, already pulling up a screen on her monitor. We'll start with revoking any past documents they could be tied to, then build new ones, your terms only. You want to trust. Yes, I said, and I want Lee listed, only her. Donna looked over the edge of her glasses. She know what's coming. Not yet. Good, she said, then she won't say anything by mistake. I watched her type, fingers moving with the certainty of someone who'd seen too many families like mine, too many children who thought access was owed, not earned. Before I left, she handed me a thin envelope. This is your revocation template. It'll make any old powers invalid. You'll sign it, we'll notarize it, keep copies in 3 places, I'll hold one. I nodded, slipping it into my coat pocket. Outside, the sky was dark again, November dusk, fast and unforgiving. Back in my car, I looked at my phone. One more message from Kara. Just let us know what time works, we'll make it easy. I didn't reply. Instead, I looked at the envelope in my lap, the one that would cut their strings before they ever felt tension. I didn't need confrontation, I didn't need drama. I just needed it done clean, legal, and quiet. Because once a signature is given, it's hard to take back. But silence, well, silence is power too. The teller recognized me, but not the folder I carried. Morning, Ms. Klein, she said, smiling like she always had. What can we help you with today? I need to close a certificate of deposit, I told her, sliding the paper across the counter. It's a joint one, my son's name is on it. She looked it over. We can process that today, but I'll need you to confirm the reason. I leaned in just slightly. It's no longer joint, and I no longer need his permission. Her smile didn't change, but her fingers moved faster. Understood. They opened that CD years ago, Aaron's idea, said it would optimize interest and streamline long-term planning. What it really did was give him visibility into something that wasn't his. Not anymore. Once that was closed, I sat down with the branch manager in her glass-walled office. A woman my age, sharp and calm. I liked her immediately. I want to create a private trust, I said, opening my file. It should hold my retirement funds and savings. She raised an eyebrow. Beneficiaries. Lee Klein and Donna Clay, my attorney in a protective oversight role. Her pen paused. No, son. No, I said, and this stays off shared portals, no digital cosigners, no one else gets notifications. The room quieted as she typed. Outside, the usual bank noise, printers humming, heels tapping tile, but in here I felt something tighten into place, a line drawn in ink. When the paperwork was almost done, the manager hesitated. Can I ask, she glanced up, are you safe? I smiled at that, really smiled, not just politely. I'm safer than they think. She nodded once, then kept going. Back home, I brewed a fresh cup of tea, sat by the window. The folder rested on the table again, thicker now, the new trust documents, Donna's revocation letter, the closed account confirmation, all labeled, all filed. Out of curiosity, I checked Kara's social media. She posted a picture of her and Aaron at a cocktail bar, captioned, Modernizing generational wealth, legacy isn't just for the past. Dozens of likes, one comment, you two are visionaries. I closed the app. The knock at the door was soft, familiar. Lee, no warning, just her. I was nearby, she said, stepping inside. You weren't answering texts. I've been busy, I said, paperwork. She sat at the kitchen table without asking, looked around. You've rearranged. I had subtle changes, new lockbox in the corner, papers sorted by category, safe keys removed from the wall hook. She watched me with that quiet intuition she'd always had. You seem sharper. I never got dull, I replied. She smiled, half relieved, half curious. From the drawer beside me, I pulled out a small white envelope, unmarked, sealed. I handed it to her. Not yet, I said, but soon. She held it in her palm like it was fragile. You trust me with this. More than anyone. She didn't open it, just slipped it into her coat pocket and nodded. We sat there a while, no noise. The wind tapping the window panes, the same house but not the same rules. She didn't ask what was inside. And I didn't tell her. Because when trust is real, you don't need to explain the locks someone else tried to put on your life. You just pass the key. The call came 2 days after Lee's visit. Aaron's voice was bright, too bright, the kind that hides something sharp. Mom, Kara and I were talking, he began. We think it might be good for you to do a wellness check, just routine, make sure everything's steady. Doctors recommend it for seniors. There it was, not even subtle. I let silence stretch between us, just long enough for him to think I was considering it. That sounds reasonable, I said. A pause, surprise. Really, you're open to it? Yes, I answered. Schedule it for me, would you, and send the appointment details. He sounded relieved, predictable. Of course, I'll take care of everything. And he did, or so he thought. The appointment link arrived an hour later. A clinic I'd never heard of, across town, specializing in cognitive screening for aging populations. Their website featured smiling adult children with their hands resting on elderly shoulders, not beside them. I canceled the appointment without comment and called my own physician, Dr. Ramirez, the woman who'd seen me through 2 surgeries, 3 grief cycles, and decades of flu seasons. I need a comprehensive capacity evaluation, I told her, documented, notarized if possible. Her voice softened. Is this about your son? It's about paperwork. She didn't push. Professionals know when not to ask. The exam took 2 hours, memory, logic, reasoning, decision processing. I aced every section. At the end, Dr. Ramirez sat across from me, glasses low on her nose. Virginia, your cognitive function is not just intact, it's exceptional. You're clearer than some of my residents. I exhaled, not relief but confirmation. She slid the report across the desk, a crisp, signed statement in bold black type. Cognitively intact, decisive, legally capable. I picked it up like a shield. At home, I slipped the report into my estate binder under a new tab labeled Capacity. 2 copies, one for Donna, one sealed for the court if ever needed. Paper doesn't argue, it simply stands. That evening the doorbell rang. Through the window I saw them, Aaron in his business coat, Kara tight-lipped beside him, and a third man holding a black notary bag. I opened the door slowly. Mom, Aaron said, forced warmth in his tone. We were in the neighborhood, thought we'd check in. In the neighborhood, 40 minutes from their house. Kara stepped forward. We brought someone who can help finalize things today, while everything's calm. The notary removed his hat. It was Mr. Jensen, my neighbor for 27 years. Former notary, retired mechanic, the man who helped George build the back fence one summer before the cancer took him. His eyes met mine and held. He said nothing, but he didn't need to. Aaron pulled out a stack of documents and set them on my kitchen table like a dealer in a card game. We don't have to rush, but this really is the responsible next step. Kara placed a pen beside the papers, parallel and perfect. All you have to do is sign, she said. I didn't sit, I didn't touch the pen. I reached instead for the coffee pot, poured 3 cups and set them gently in front of them. My hands were steady, their eyes tracked them like they expected a tremor. I appreciate the visit, I said quietly. Coffee is welcome, control is not. Aaron blinked confused. What does that mean? It means, I said, meeting his stare, that I'm not signing anything today, or any day you bring a stranger to my door with a bag full of legal traps. Kara stiffened. Mom. Virginia, I corrected, if we're doing business. Mr. Jensen closed his notary case without a word. He looked at me again, something like respect gleaming in his expression. I'll see myself out, he said softly. Kara stood abruptly, cheeks tight with anger. Aaron gathered the papers too quickly, edges bending. They walked to the door stiff and silent. You're making this harder than it needs to be, Aaron muttered. No, I said, holding the door open. I'm making it clear. They stepped into the cold, and the door closed behind them. I locked it. Then I leaned my back against the wood and exhaled, slow, steady, unbroken. I thought I'd feel shaken, but all I felt was ready. Because they didn't come for a signature. They came to test whether I'd already surrendered. And they failed. I walked to the table and looked down at the empty pen Kara left behind. My hand brushed against it, light as breath. They wanted proof I still had my mind. Soon they'd see exactly how much. Donna didn't say I told you so, but the look on her face the next morning said everything. I placed the capacity report on her desk, the bold words facing upward like a verdict. Her finge. Arrest tapped the edge of the paper, slow and deliberate. That will silence them before they even open their mouths, she said. I don't need silence, I replied. I need certainty. Donna opened a drawer and pulled out a thick draft neatly clipped. Then let's finalize it. I sat across from her, the sunlight cutting narrow lines across the desk. She read through every page out loud, clear, steady, precise, nothing rushed, nothing sloppy, every comma mattered. When we reached Article 3, she paused. This is the distribution section, confirm once more for record. I folded my hands together on my lap, palms dry, voice steady. Aaron and Kara receive $1 each. Donna nodded and marked it, symbolic, legally binding, and sufficient to acknowledge them without granting claim. Good, I said, my voice didn't tremble, not even internally. Executor, she asked. I lifted my chin, leave full authority, unrestricted. And the property. The house goes to her, the savings fund becomes her scholarship resource, she chooses how it's used. Donna wrote slowly, pen carving certainty into paper. And the clause, she asked. I leaned forward, make it ironclad. If Aaron contests in any capacity, formal or informal, he forfeits even the $1. Donna smiled without humor, a no contest clause, aggressive but justified. Protective, I corrected. She continued typing, occasionally asking for initials, signatures, acknowledgments. I hardly recognized my own voice when I answered, calm, almost surgical. When we reached the end, she pressed the staple through the top corner, then slid the pages into a leather folder. That's it, she said softly. We'll file it today. Once it's recorded, it's immovable. I inhaled deep and slow, the way divers do before cutting beneath dark water. Let's go, I said. The county recording office smelled like old paper and disinfectant. Fluorescent lights hummed overhead. A clerk in lavender glasses stamped each page, verifying signatures, checking seals. Donna looked at me as she handed the folder across the counter. You understand, once I file this, there's no turning back. It is legally alive. That's the point, I said. The final stamp hit the page with a sharp echo. Done. I felt a stillness settle over me, quieter than relief, heavier than victory, not triumph, closure. There was one more stop. The unused lot at the edge of town, the one George and I bought decades ago when we still dreamed of building a cabin. Aaron always assumed that land would be his, another property to leverage, another asset to reshape into something glossy. The realtor met me there with paperwork already drawn up. I signed without hesitation. Anonymous donation to the Women's Legal Aid Center, she confirmed. Funds restricted to support victims of coercion. And the donor name, I asked. Kara Bennett, she said, Kara's maiden name, not Klein, not family. I slipped the pen back into my purse. Perfect. If they wanted to modernize generational wealth, they just helped finance the freedom of women they'd never meet. Maybe someday Kara would see her name on a plaque and feel pride. Or confusion. Either suited me. Back home, I opened the safe in the hall closet. The metal door groaned slightly, old hinge, honest sound. I placed the recorded will inside, then added the flash drive Donna prepared containing encrypted copies of every document. Beside it, I laid a small voice recorder. My message was brief, my own words, unshakable tone, time-stamped. And then the video, I'd recorded it that morning, sitting in my living room chair looking directly into the lens. No makeup, no disguise, just the truth. My life is mine, I said in the first line. No one coerced me, no one pressured me, I choose this freely. I closed the safe door, turned the wheel, and felt the lock snap into place. Every sound in the house felt louder afterward, the ticking kitchen clock, the hum of the refrigerator, a car passing outside. For the first time in months, I realized I wasn't waiting for them to act anymore. I had already acted. I sat down at the table, hands wrapped around a warm mug. Through the front window, I saw a car slow as it passed the house, dark sedan, windows tinted. It paused at the corner stop sign longer than necessary. Then it drove away. Maybe coincidence, maybe not. But I smiled. Because now, whatever came next, I was ready to meet it standing. And they had no idea what document already existed with their names printed in ink. Next to a single dollar. They rang the bell just after 11. I knew they were coming. Kara had texted earlier that morning, quick chat, bringing someone helpful. The smiley face said more than the words did. I didn't reply. When I opened the door, all three of them stood there, faces bright like they were selling solar panels. Kara stepped in first, arm linked with a woman in business slacks, wheeling a small black case. We know this is stressful, she said with a practiced cheer, so we brought someone to help, let's make it easy. Aaron followed with a manila folder tucked under his arm. He didn't look at me, just scanned the living room like a buyer surveying square footage. I let them in. The notary, young, polite, already uncomfortable, sat up at the dining table. She opened her log, clicked her pen, waited for the others to take their places. Aaron laid out the documents like blueprints. This is everything, Mom. Power of attorney, deed transfer, healthcare proxy. We figured it's best to handle it all at once. I didn't sit right away. I just stood behind the chair, reading the tops of the pages. The font was small, the space S were tight, their names were everywhere. I sat down and picked up the POA first, read it slowly, out loud. This grants Aaron Klein full decision-making authority over all financial and medical matters. Kara smiled like I just read a Hallmark card. It's standard, nothing surprising. I kept reading, quietly now, every paragraph, every clause. Next, the deed transfer. Halfway down the page I stopped. This says I can't sell my home without written permission from the new deed holder. That's you. Aaron nodded, right, but again, nothing would change unless you asked for it. Except my signature, I said, looking up. He blinked. What? That would change, it would disappear. The notary cleared her throat. Just a reminder, she's under no obligation to sign anything today or ever. Kara turned sharply toward her, her smile slipping. We're just here to support her. I folded the papers and set them aside. Aaron sighed like a man doing someone a favor. Mom, you don't need to overthink this, we're trying to take the pressure off. I'm not pressured, I said. Well, then there's no harm in signing. There's no harm, I said slowly, because I haven't signed. The notary gave me a faint smile. You're within your rights, ma'am. Aaron leaned back in his chair. So you called us here for nothing? No, I said, you came here for something, I'm just not giving it. Kara crossed her arms. Why are you making this so difficult? I didn't answer right away. I stood, walked to the kitchen, poured myself a glass of water. The silence stretched like a rubber band, thin, tense, waiting to snap. Then I turned back to them, glass in hand. I have one question, I said. Why now? Aaron blinked. What do you mean? You've known my age for years, you've known where I live, what I own. Why now? Kara spoke first. Because it's time, these things. No, I cut in, you don't get to pick when my time is up, you don't get to decide when I become paperwork. Aaron stood frustrated, we're done here. No, I said again calmly, you're done here. The notary packed up in silence. She offered me a card which I accepted. Aaron left without looking back. Kara trailed him tight-jawed. The door shut behind them with a quiet finality. I stood at the window and watched them climb into the car, talking fast and low, hands gesturing. Whatever plan they came with, it hadn't landed. They drove off quicker than they arrived. I turned back to the table and looked down at the papers, perfectly printed, perfectly rejected. They wanted control. Instead, they left with nothing but the sound of my voice in their ears. And tomorrow I had dinner plans. With Lee. I invited them to dinner a full week after the signature showdown. My idea, my table, my timing. Kara replied within 5 minutes, of course, sounds wonderful, let us know what to bring. Aaron didn't reply at all, just showed up. The table was already set when they arrived, linen napkins, my mother's old china, 2 bottles of wine breathing beside the roast. I'd made their favorites, or what used to be, glazed carrots, garlic mashed potatoes, sour cream cornbread, the kind Aaron always claimed was better than restaurant. I opened the door and greeted them with the same warmth they'd brought to my doorstep a week earlier, polite, neutral, unreadable. Kara was dressed like she'd come straight from a property showing, high heels, gold hoops, a sleeveless blouse. Even though the wind outside had a bite to it, her smile was polished, her eyes were scanning. Aaron walked in without a word, his jaw tight. He gave the food one quick glance, then took his seat like he was at a deposition. I served everything myself, poured the wine, passed the rolls, asked about traffic. I kept it light, even as I watched them glance at each other over their forks, trying to figure out where the trap was, because to them, a meal without motive didn't exist anymore. They waited and waited. No documents appeared, no mentions of money, deeds, or signatures, just roasted chicken, cranberry compote, and silence thick enough to slice. Halfway through the meal, Kara set her fork down, folded her hands delicately. You know, she said, voice bright and brittle, we've been really patient. I wiped the corner of my mouth with my napkin, looked up. Have you? She blinked, well, yes, we've given you space, time we didn't push. Aaron said nothing, he just kept chewing. I nodded slowly, you've been really presumptive. Kara's smile twitched, I'm not sure what that means. It means, I said calmly, you've mistaken courtesy for permission, and silence for agreement. A long pause followed. Aaron put down his fork. Kara looked toward the living room as if documents might suddenly materialize on the coffee table. Nothing did. I stood and walked to the sideboard, pulled out 2 white envelopes, hand-delivered them, one in front of Kara's wine glass, one in front of Aaron's plate. Neither Rhea. Shed for them immediately. What is this? Kara asked, eyes narrowing. Go ahead, I said. Aaron opened his first, Kara followed a second later. Empty, not a single sheet of paper inside. Just the whisper of nothing. Kara looked up sharply, is this supposed to be a joke? No, I said, it's a symbol, you keep showing up expecting something, authority, access, control, but there's nothing here for you. Aaron pushed his chair back, not fast, not loud, but final, you've made your point. I stayed standing, you haven't seen the point yet, you've only seen the patience. Kara's fingers gripped the edge of the envelope, we've tried to handle this the easy way. Easy for who? I asked. I cook, I serve, I host, and still I'm the one being managed. She didn't answer. Aaron looked at me, then really looked, and for a split second something flickered in his eyes, not guilt, not regret. Just the slow realization that whatever game he thought he was playing, he was no longer the one dealing the cards. They stood. Kara muttered, thanks for dinner, as if she couldn't get out fast enough. Aaron gave me one last look, then turned to leave. I stayed at the table. Their plates were still half full, their wine untouched. I picked up their empty envelopes and slid them back into the drawer beside the silverware. Let them wonder, let them turn it over in their minds. What did she give us? What did we miss? Because control, when it slips, doesn't scream. It walks you to the door with your hands empty and makes you say thank you anyway. The envelope arrived by courier, hand-delivered, no signature required. Inside, 3 certified copies of my will, 2 trust documents, 1 letter from Donna typed in sharp serif font, and a sticky note in her own writing. All fully executed, originals filed, you're untouchable now. I laid everything out on the dining table, smoothed each page, then opened the cedar box from the top shelf of my closet, the one George built in '78, still smelling faintly of sawdust and varnish. Inside, I tucked the will between his old handkerchief and the pocketknife he used to carry, the blade dulled from years of fence repairs and Christmas mornings. I paused, ran my finger across the initials carved inside the lid, GC. Then I added a new tag under the box latch, CLAIRE, open only IF. Claire came by that afternoon, no text ahead of time, no knocking, just the sound of her boots on my porch and the quiet click of the door opening the way it always had. She looked hesitant, more tired than usual. College had worn her edges soft, but today she carried something heavier than coursework. She sat without speaking. I poured her tea. It wasn't until her second sip that she spoke. "They told me not to get too close," she said quietly. "Said you were fading, that you were confused, maybe not making the best decisions." I didn't flinch. "And you believed them?" I asked. "I didn't know what to believe," she admitted. "But I saw you last week, the way you spoke to them, the way they looked afterward." Her eyes met mine, steady now. "You're not fading, you're sharper than all of us." I reached for the file folder I'd prepared, not the originals but exact printed copies. I handed it across the table. She opened it slowly, scanning. Her eyes widened slightly as she reached the clause assigning her executor rights, then the scholarship fund, then the no contest clause typed in bold. "I don't understand," she whispered. "Why me?" "Because you're the one they couldn't control," I said, "and you never tried to control me." She folded the folder closed and held it like a secret she hadn't earned but would protect anyway. "I don't know what to say." "You don't need to say anything yet," I told her. "You just need to be ready. When it's time, you'll know." She nodded, swallowed hard, and reached across the table, not for the papers but for my hand. "I won't let them touch a single thing," she said. I believed her. Later that evening, I made the mistake of checking Facebook. Kara had posted a quote over a filtered beach sunset. "Sometimes the hardest part of healing is letting go of toxic parents who still pretend they've done nothing wrong." 73 likes. 4 comments, "Stay strong, boundaries matter, you're doing the right thing." No names, of course, just enough poison to linger in the water. I didn't respond, I didn't need to. The version of me they were describing online, confused, resistant, unreasonable, was one they'd built for the audience they wanted. But the real version, the one holding the documents, managing the locks, reading the statutes line by line. They'd never see her coming. Just before sunset, there was another knock. I opened the door and smiled. Mr. Jensen stood there holding a pie dish wrapped in foil and a familiar calm. "Apple," he said, "from the tree behind my shed, not many this year but still sweet." I invited him in. We sat in the kitchen like we used. 2 same chairs, same conversation rhythm, no rush. He glanced at the stack of files beside the cedar box and nodded toward them. "That signature you didn't give," he said, "it mattered." I looked down at the pie, steam curling at the edges, sugar glistening in the crust. "Most things that matter don't look like much at the time," I replied. He smiled. "Well, this one's going to age real well." As he left, he paused in the doorway. "They're starting to feel it, you know, the gap, they just don't know what to call it yet." "They will," I said. He tipped his hat. "Night, Virginia." I locked the door and turned back to the quiet house. Let them wonder. Let them whisper. Because the version of me they'd underestimated. That one had already written the ending. I didn't tell them why I was inviting them, only that it was for clarity. That word clarity must have made them nervous. They both responded quickly this time. Aaron asked, "Is this about the house?" Kara simply replied, "We'll be there." Claire arrived first. She wore jeans and a soft blue sweater, no makeup, her hair pulled back like she didn't need to impress anyone. She hugged me quietly, then took her seat at the table without asking where to sit. When Aaron and Kara arrived 10 minutes later, they were overdressed and too quiet. Kara's heels clicked across the hardwood like a threat. Aaron's jaw was already set. "Thanks for coming," I said, motioning to the chairs I'd arranged, 3 on one side, mine alone at the head. The air in the room felt still, like before a storm. My estate binder sat in front of me, open to a copy of the will. I watched their eyes flick to it, then to each other. "I won't keep you long," I said, "but I want there to be no confusion, so I'm going to read this aloud." Kara tilted her head. "What exactly is this?" "My will," I said. Aaron sat back. "Why now?" "Because it's mine," I answered, "and I'd like my words to come from my mouth while I still have one." Claire glanced down, folding her hands in her lap. I began to read, not rushing, not softening the edges. I read through the formalities, the identification of assets, the confirmation of mental capacity. I read through the trust assignments, the fund allocations, the protections. Their postures started to shift, Kara going still, Aaron growing restless. Then I reached the line that changed the air in the room. "To my son Aaron, who asked for everything, I leave nothing but the peace of my absence." Silence. Kara inhaled sharply like she'd been slapped. Aaron's voice cracked through it. "Is this legal?" I didn't flinch. I reached for the folder beside me, thick, stamped, indexed. From it, I handed them 3 documents: a notarized capacity report, a certified county-filed will, and Donna's trust certification letter. Aaron skimmed the top page and pushed it back. "You're really doing this?" "I already did," I said. Kara shook her head. "You can't be serious. We've supported you. You've shown up," I interrupted, "with forms, with pressure, with deadlines, but never with care." Aaron stood. "This is vindictive." "No," I said calmly, "it's protective." He stared at me. "We're your family." "Then you should have acted like it." He didn't move, didn't speak. Kara reached for the papers, trying to understand the mechanics of something she'd already lost. Claire hadn't said a word. When I looked at her, her eyes were glassy, not from shock, from understanding. "You don't have to carry it," I told her, "but you'll be trusted to guard it." She nodded once, barely, as if that weight had already found her shoulders. Aaron paced behind his chair, then turned to me. "What do you want from us?" he demanded. "Nothing," I said. "That's the point." He blinked. "There is no next step," I continued. "No bargaining, no pleading. The story's already been written. This meeting was a courtesy." Kara looked from me to Claire, her voice tightening. "So she gets everything." "She gets what's protected," I corrected. "What can't be bought or flipped or borrowed against." Aaron stepped closer. "This won't hold up." I turned toward the side table and opened the small lockbox I'd brought out before they arrived. Inside was a flash drive, 2 voice memos, and the original capacity report. I laid them gently on the table. "Then by all means," I said, "test it." His face tightened, but he didn't reach for them. Kara looked down again at the copy of the will. Her fingers hovered over the bolded clause, "No contest provision, immediate disinheritance upon challenge." She looked paler than when she walked in. No one spoke. I stood. "Dinner's not being served tonight," I said. This wasn't a meal, it was a reading. Aaron turned toward the door, his silence louder than a slammed fist. Kara followed, clutching her purse like it could shield her. Only Claire remained, still seated, still steady. When the door shut behind them, she whispered, "They'll come back." "I know," I said, "but next time they'll knock like strangers." They didn't storm back in. They started circling instead. It began with an email from Kara to Donna, polite but transparent. Subject: request for documentation review. Body: we'd like to verify the terms of the estate updates to ensure everyone's been accurately informed. Please send us a copy of the latest documents and any relevant legal advisories. Donna forwarded it to me with one line. Response sent, denied access. I didn't need to see her reply. I could hear it in her voice, clipped, unshakable, final. Aaron tried a different route. He called the county clerk's office directly, expecting confusion or cracks in the record-keeping. Instead, he was told, "All documents have been recorded, witnessed, and filed per state statute. Public summary available, full details sealed under private trust." He didn't call again. I changed the locks that same week. Not because I was afraid, because I was done with access being assumed. I replaced the front door hardware myself. It took 2 hours and 3 YouTube tutorials. The screws didn't bite easily into the old wood, but eventually the metal clicked into place, firm and final. Then I printed a small sign and placed it near the mailbox. "No soliciting or legal requests without counsel present. This property is protected, so is the woman who owns it. Let them read it, let them drive by and see it. Let it replace the warm welcome they thought they'd never lose." Claire called me the next day. "I'm getting texts," she said, "from Cara, friendly on the surface, passive underneath." "What kind of friendly?" I asked. She asked if I was holding up okay under the pressure, then said she hopes I'm not being forced into anything. I could hear the tension in her voice, not fear, but the kind of cold fire that flares when someone underestimates you one too many times. "I blocked her," she said, then changed my number. I didn't say thank you. She didn't need it. The neighborhood noticed the shift before I had to explain anything. Aaron and Cara used to breeze through every few weeks, checking in, as they'd call it, smiling just long enough to seem invested. Now nothing, no cars, no drop-ins, no empty gestures wrapped in concern. Mrs. Avery from next door stopped me on my morning walk. "Haven't seen your boy in a bit," she said gently. "I imagine he's busy," I replied. She looked at me for a long moment, then she smiled. "You look different," she said. "Better." "No," she said, calmer. That night I slept with the windows open. No alarms, no tension, just the wind moving through the curtains like the house had finally exhaled. 2 days later, I hosted tea in the backyard. Just me, Claire, and Mr. Jensen. We sat beneath the arbor George built before his hands gave out. The wisteria was starting to come in late, nothing wild, just hints of purple coiling through the trellis. Claire brought a lemon tart from a cafe near campus. Mr. Jensen brought silence and a steady gaze. We didn't talk about the will, we didn't talk about Cara or Aaron. We talked about birds and porch repairs and books I hadn't read in years. Claire laughed, really laughed, for the first time in months. Jensen sipped his tea, careful not to spill, and told us about the time he tried to replace his dishwasher and nearly flooded his entire kitchen. We stayed until the sun dipped low, casting gold across the garden. When Claire got up to leave, she paused by the back step and turned to me. "They still think they're waiting on something," she said. I nodded. "They don't realize it's already over." And just then, as if summoned by the very word, a car eased down the street. Familiar shape, familiar color. Black sedan, tinted windows. It didn't stop, just passed slowly, as if still deciding whether it had permission to return. It didn't. Claire followed my gaze and placed a hand gently on my shoulder. "Let them circle," she said. And I smiled. "Let them fade." It didn't take long for the first real pushback to surface. 2 mornings after the backyard tea, Donna called me. No greeting, no build-up, just her voice firm and clipped. "They've escalated," she said. "I received a letter from Cara this morning demanding a review of your estate documents and all supporting files." She used the phrase family rights violations. I almost laughed, almost. "What did you do?" I asked. "What I always do," Donna replied. "I filed a formal cease and desist." I could picture her at her desk, glasses low on her nose, hair pinned back, posture straight enough to cut stone. "I cited your no contest clause," she continued, "and attached the complete capacity evaluation, time-stamped video logs, dated drafts of prior wills, and the transfer confirmation letters. I also included the recording from your physician and the notary witness report from Mr. Jensen. If they press further, we'll pursue sanctions." The line was quiet for a moment. "Thank you," I said softly. "If they want to fight," Donna added, "they'll lose it in court before we even walk in." By afternoon, news traveled fast, not through lawyers but through fear. My phone buzzed with a message from Claire. Kara's panicking. She asked a friend at her firm to look over the documents. They told her it's airtight. Then another seconds later. She's furious and scared. I imagined Kara pacing their kitchen, manicured nails tapping the counter, the taste of certainty turning metallic. Later that night, Claire forwarded another message, this time from the friend Kara had recruited. I'm out, there's nothing to fight here, everything is properly structured and verified, you'll lose and you'll trigger the clause. 3 sentences that hit harder than any courtroom ruling. I sat down at the kitchen table and let out a slow breath, not triumph, just the quiet relief of knowing the walls were holding. The email from Aaron came next. Subject line, can we talk? The body was short, sloppy, rushed. This wasn't what we wanted, things got out of hand, we never meant for it to feel like this, can't we just fix it? I read it twice, then a third time. And for a moment I felt something unexpected, a flicker of the boy he'd been once. The child who cried when his goldfish died, the teenager who stayed up late helping me fix a loose porch step, the young father who placed Lee into my arms with trembling hands. But then I remembered the dinner where he asked me to sign away my name like it was overdue homework, the blank envelopes, the pressure disguised as concern. I typed slowly, clearly. Then maybe you should have asked what I wanted. I hit send. No shaking hands, no second guessing. Just truth. The next morning, I updated my medical directive. At the clinic, the nurse recognized me and guided me to a private room. The fluorescent lights were soft, not harsh. The pen felt steady in my hand. I filled out every field myself, no proxy assignments, no shared access, no ambiguity. Authorized contact, Donna Clay. Secondary contact, Claire Klein. No one else. I initialed each line, signed the bottom, date and time, done. When I handed the folder back, the nurse said, "It's rare to see someone this prepared." Preparation, I said, is just another word for respect. Walking out into the cold air, I felt lighter than I had in years. My life no longer felt like something to protect, it felt like something secured. Untouchable. By evening, the house was silent again, the kind of silence that doesn't ring with threat or uncertainty, just peace. I lit a candle in the kitchen and made myself a bowl of soup. I sat by the window and watched the street outside, calm, still, ordinary. And then my phone buzzed. A number I didn't recognize. One message. "We need to talk tonight, it's urgent." I stared at the screen, the blue glow reflecting against the glass, the soup cooling between my hands. Urgent. That word used to shake me. Now it just sounded like a door closing. I set the phone down and blew out the candle. Let him wait. Because the next conversation would happen on my terms. They stopped pretending first. No more texts, no calls, no surprise visits. Not even a holiday card. Aaron and Kara went quiet, the kind of silence that doesn't ask for a reply because it was never a question, just absence, calculated, cold, and far too late. But I didn't mourn the silence. I let it settle like dust in corners I no longer had to sweep. The mornings came easier now. I walked the neighborhood again, not far, not fast, but steady. My cane clicked softly against the sidewalk, rhythm matching breath, matching time, the same houses, the same trees. But everything felt clearer now, like I'd finally stepped into my own name again. Neighbors waved from their porches, some with real warmth, others with that polite uncertainty reserved for people they now suspect have a story. They're right. At the cafe on Maple Street, I ordered my usual cinnamon tea and a small lemon scone, sat near the window, watched the light shift across the floor like a sundial I didn't have to rush. A woman approached as I was folding up my napkin. Mid-30s maybe, blouse tucked, a nervous smile under quiet eyes. "I'm sorry," she said, "are you Virginia Klein?" I nodded. "I hope this isn't strange, but someone shared your story, the estate planning, the protections, the way you stayed standing. It made its way to a local women's clinic where I volunteer. Someone read it out loud during a workshop. We didn't know your name then, but now." She looked like she might cry, but didn't. "Thank you," she said simply. I smiled, not wide, not performative, just honest. "For what?" I asked. "For showing there's still time to reclaim the pen," she said, even at the end of a sentence. She left before I could offer more. But her words stayed longer than the tea's warmth. That evening, I got an email from Claire. Subject: fall term. "Hi Gran. Attached is the final invoice for this semester. I know you said to forward it, no questions asked, so here it is. Thank you, I love you. See?" I clicked the link, paid it in full, and closed the laptop without ceremony. Helping her didn't feel like an obligation, it felt like oxygen. Not a gift. A right. The wooden box moved again. This time into the new fireproof safe I'd had installed behind the bookshelf, the one George always meant to build but never got around to. Claire helped me slide it in, testing the dial until it clicked. Next to the cedar box, I placed a sealed letter with her name on the front. In handwriting I took my time with, I wrote, "For Claire, when the time is right. This isn't about inheritance. It's about instruction." The real legacy was never in what I left behind, but in what I taught her to claim early, with her name intact, her voice unshaken. Later that night, curiosity got the better of me. I checked Kara's Facebook. A new post, same aesthetic, white serif font over soft grayscale background. "What's taken from you isn't always the real loss." No context, dozens of likes, one too many heart emojis. But I saw it for what it was: grief pretending to be insight. Control dressed as wisdom. Loss still hoping to look like theft. I didn't respond. She hadn't lost a mother. She just lost her script. I sat back in my chair, let the quiet roll in. There would be more ripples, that much was inevitable. But the storm, that was done. And somewhere down the hall, behind reinforced steel and stories they'd never read correctly, my name stayed exactly where I'd written it. With authority. With clarity. With no one else holding the pen. It happened on a Thursday. Not a milestone, not a birthday, just a crisp morning with clean light and no need for ceremony. Donna slid the papers across her office desk, thick stock, bold type margins that didn't waste space. I'd already read them twice. "This is the last one," she said. "Once you sign, it's recorded by close of business." I held the pen. Living deed transfer, primary residence. Beneficiary Claire Klein. Effective immediately upon execution. Restrictions: property is non-transferable, non-liquidable, and cannot be borrowed against. Third-party access prohibited. Aaron and Kara Klein explicitly excluded. I signed cleanly. No shaking, no second thoughts, just ink meeting truth. Donna notarized it, then slid it into the pre-addressed envelope. "It's filed today," she said, "irrevocable." "Good," I said. She studied me for a moment. "You're not just handing it down." "No," I said, "I'm handing it back to where it should have gone before anyone tried to hold it hostage." The apartment was smaller, sunlit, quiet. One bedroom, one bath, kitchen with real tile and no need for stairs. I picked it myself, paid 5 years rent in advance, no monthly bills, no strings. When I walked in with just 2 suitcases and a framed photo of George and me on the porch swing, the manager blinked. "No furniture delivery." "I brought what I need," I said. "Freedom doesn't take up much space." Claire handled the rest. She didn't move in, not right away. She said the house needed time to breathe. Instead, she visited after class, trimmed back the rose bushes, repainted the front door a soft green, hung wind chimes on the back porch just like the ones we had when she was little. And the porch swing. She replaced it. Same style, same slats, same gentle creak. It looked exactly like the one in the old photo, right down to the cushion print. "It belongs here," she told me, "like you always did." I didn't cry, I just sat in it the next day and let the breeze do what it does best. Move without permission. Aaron found out through the county clerk. Claire told me later he must have searched the registry on a whim or desperation, saw the transfer, saw the date, saw the clause. He called the office to confirm. It wasn't a mistake. It was permanent. That afternoon, he left a voicemail. "You've made your point, Mom, loud and clear, but this feels cruel. I just don't understand why it had to come to this." I didn't call back. I was in the rec room playing cards with two retired librarians and a woman named Esther who could shuffle better than any Vegas dealer. She dealt me a full house and winked. "Your luck's turning," she said. I smiled. "No," I said, "it finally caught up." That night I walked through the new apartment barefoot. No footsteps behind me, no papers waiting by the door, no eyes watching to see if I'd blink first. Just me and a space I'd chosen, with money I'd protected, on terms I didn't have to explain. There was a framed copy of the deed on my nightstand, not to gloat, just to remind myself. There are ways to take your life back. And sometimes the way you do it is legal. Claire texted before bed. "Just saw the swing in the moonlight, you'd love how it looks." I left the porch light on. "The house feels safe again. Sleep well, Gran." I did. For the first time in decades, I didn't dream about signatures. Or locked safes. Or the sound of voices raising in a house that was never supposed to be a battlefield. I just slept. While the house stood where it had always been. And the people who thought they'd outweighted me. They finally knew. They'd lost something they never really owned. Because the real inheritance. It wasn't money. It was control. And I had taken it back fully legally. For good. The thank you note was handwritten, neat script, no extra flourish. Claire had slipped it into Donna's mailbox after class, no fanfare, no subject line, just an envelope that said D. Clay-esque in the corner. Donna forwarded me a scanned copy the next morning. "Dear Ms. Clay, I know you didn't do all this for me, you did it for her, but what you protected was mine too. Not the house, not the account, not the title. The right to be her granddaughter without conditions. Thank you for protecting her voice and by extension mine. Gratefully, Claire Klein." I printed the letter, folded it gently, and slipped it between 2 pages of my journal, the old one with the cracked leather and missing strap. Some things are worth keeping close. I drafted my obituary the same week. Not because I felt unwell, not because anything was looming. But because for the first time in a long time, the ending wasn't a threat. It was mine to shape. Virginia Eleanor Klein. 1947, not yet. Wife to George, grandmother to Claire. Builder of her own peace. Preceded in rest by regret, survived by freedom. Family Claire Klein. No mention of Aaron. No shadowy others. Not erasure, just honesty. Kara's orbit collapsed quietly. It started with her curated circle, the yoga friend who used to comment truth dizzy on every passive-aggressive post, the colleague who once asked if her mother was as difficult as she made it sound. They stopped liking. Then stopped commenting. Then stopped showing up at all. Turns out, estate drama makes even the most polished social feeds feel sticky. Reputation doesn't bleed, it just leaks slowly until no one wants to hold the bucket. In my apartment, I pulled the old fireproof box from the closet, not the new safe, just the portable one I used when I thought I still needed backups for everything. Inside, outdated trust drafts, pre-Donna wills, old legal language from a time I still believed inheritance required compromise. I shredded them. One by one. Not because I feared confusion, but because nothing false needed to remain in the room with the truth. The real will stayed in the safe. The fake ones fed the bin. Some endings don't need closure. Just deletion. My annual checkup landed on the first Tuesday in March. Dr. Ramirez walked into the room with her usual warm efficiency, glancing at her tablet. "Well," she said, "your bloodwork is boring, heart steady, reflexes sharp." She tapped a few more fields, then glanced up. "Still no dependents listed. Still no one who needs to manage my body when I can't," I said. She nodded, "Then we're done here." I signed the exit forms and caught the corner of my patient chart as I passed it back. No dependents, no secondary contact, advanced directive active. It didn't feel lonely. It felt clean. My birthday was quiet, The kind I once dreaded: no cake, no candles, no big family dinner with forced small talk and tighter smiles. Instead, morning tea, one card from Claire, a voicemail from Donna that said, "Still standing, good." And a rose bush. I planted it myself in the community garden behind the apartment, right where the old tool shed stood before they tore it down to make space for benches. I pressed the roots into the soil slowly, gently. This one was pale pink, George's favorite. He used to say they were the color of calm. As I stood, I brushed the dirt off my palms and looked out across the yard, late sun stretching long shadows, birds gathering on the fence line. There was no one watching me. No one waiting to ask what was theirs. Just me. In soil I chose. Planting something that wouldn't bloom for weeks. But when it did, it would be mine. Not just the flowers, but the decision to stay and plant. Even this late. Especially this late. The letter was tucked beneath the cedar box's false bottom, sealed in an envelope the color of faded ivory, my name written across the front in her unmistakable hand. Claire Klein. No nickname, no sweetheart, just my name, as if she wanted me to understand this was meant to be official. I opened it slowly, careful not to smudge the ink. Inside, 3 pages, handwritten, slightly slanted, neat, pressed down with purpose. It was dated exactly 1 year earlier. If you're reading this, then I'm either gone or you're ready. Either way, this letter belongs to you now. I wrote it without drama, no fear, no pressure, just clarity. They wanted me to vanish behind a signature, to become manageable, but when someone sees you as property, Claire, leave them with none. Not out of spite, out of principle. There's no freedom in being passed around like a deed, and there's no love in being inherited by people who only showed up to collect. But you never treated me like something to own. That's why you have everything that matters, not because I gave it to you, but because you protected it before it was even yours. That's the kind of legacy worth leaving. I didn't cry. I folded the letter, kissed the seal, and placed it in the new fireproof box, the one she left in my care, along with every key, every title, and every plan they never thought she could make without them. Virginia sits on her porch most mornings now. A little chair, a chipped mug, a thin cardigan, nothing extravagant, just routine, her routine. She watches a squirrel dive headfirst into the bird feeder she swore was squirrel-proof. I admire the commitment, she says, sipping her coffee. Donna checks in once a month, not out of necessity, just habit. No lawsuits filed, she says with a grin, not even a whisper. Then they've finally understood, Virginia replies, or they've finally accepted. Either is fine. The apartment is quiet, the estate is closed, the locks are changed, the county records reflect a transfer unchallenged and final. She reads now history mostly, memoirs by women no one expected to write them. Her finances remain untouched. Her directives unchallenged. Her peace undisturbed. Kara never posted again. No follow-up quotes, no long captions, just a silent profile that hasn't been updated in 6 months. Her last image still sits in the feed, a picture of an empty shoreline with the caption, "Some things aren't meant to be fixed." No one commented. No one needed to. Aaron tried calling once more 3 weeks after the house deed posted. The voicemail said urgent, it always did. Virginia didn't return it. She was too busy teaching Esther how to cheat at cards without getting caught. Back in the house, the air smells like lemon oil and fresh paint. The porch swing hums softly in the breeze. Claire left the light on again, just like she promised. Somewhere inside, next to the safe, a small bronze plaque is mounted behind the bookshelf. It doesn't name the owner. It doesn't cite the lawyer. It doesn't explain the inheritance. It simply reads, "Joe's piece refused permission, left nothing unclear." And Virginia. She doesn't wait anymore. She wakes when she wants. Eats when she's hungry. Signs nothing for no one. The last time someone asked her about her family, she didn't flinch. Just one, she said, the one who never asked for more than time. She meant me. I know she did. This wasn't revenge. It was refusal. It was reclamation. And it didn't require a courtroom, just a pen, a steady hand, and the decision to say, no more waiting. No more explaining. No more giving until there's nothing left. He told me to sign everything over. So I did. Just not to him,